Kashmir is beautiful. Any note on Kashmir begins with this line, and why not? The beauty of Kashmir has been acknowledged by nature lovers all across the world.
ऐसा सुना था कि कश्मीर जन्नत है, तो वाकई में कश्मीर जन्नत है।
कश्मीर में अगर बर्फ नहीं होगी तो हमारा गुजरान कुछ भी नहीं होगा। क्यों? पानी की हमें कमी हो जाएगी, हर एक चीज की हमें कमी हो जाता है।
बर्फ इतनी पड़ती थी कि कहीं किसी वक्त 5 फुट, किसी वक्त 7 फुट और 8 फुट से लेकर 10 फुट तक बर्फ पड़ती थी।
फल फूल था, सेब के दरख्त थे, उनको बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हुआ। जंगलों में भी बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हुआ।
चिल्ला कलान खत्म हो गए, अभी ये बाहर आया है, उसकी बीबी है, उसकी अभी पोता आने वाला है। अब सबको चेंजिंग आया है, चिल्ला कलान में भी चेंजिंग आया है।
Better climate means better health, and better health signifies better life. The Indian Himalayan region is one of the most vulnerable mountain systems in the world. Being a mountainous region, we are most susceptible to climate change and global warming. Jammu and Kashmir is the third most vulnerable to climate change in India. The situation is already scary, but the spread of coronavirus has made it scarier. Only a naturally balanced climate can rescue us from the trouble we are in. Any further imbalance will make it irreparably dangerous.
We are seeing some of the winters we have seen in the last 1 decade, they were snowless Chalaikalaans. Or they were very harsh. So some year it is very harsh, some year it is almost dry. So this unpredictability in the weather, this unpredictability in the climate is basically an indicator of the climate change. This indicates that this is climate change.
The snow carpet presents Kashmir as a bright white landscape. The icicles hanging on the roofs presents an eye-catching scenery which tourists document with their memories.
दोस्तों, आप अपने परिवार के साथ बिल्कुल आइए, यहाँ पर बहुत मजा आता है और यहाँ की सुंदरता, यहाँ की प्रकृति बहुत अच्छी है। बर्फ तो बहुत शानदार लग रही है, यहाँ पर एंजॉय करने में बहुत मजा आ रहा है और बच्चों के साथ तो और भी आनंद आ रहा है।
यहाँ पर कश्मीर में बर्फ होनी चाहिए, जरूर होनी चाहिए। क्यों? अगर ये नहीं होगी फिर हमारा गुजरान नहीं होता है।
But there is a darker side to the snow too. Sometimes a heavy and premature snowfall causes a lot of damage to chinars and apple trees. That is really challenging for those who are associated with the fruit business.
इस साल बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हुआ। पहली बर्फ आने से पत्तों पर जब बर्फ आई, धोखा मिल गया।
How do climatologists see premature snowfall as a seasonal phenomenon?
Snowfall in first week of November is really unprecedented and it indicates one of the climate extremes. So though we don't have the data in the Indian Himalayas, including Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh about the climate extremes, but there have been some publications, there have been some reports which have shown that the frequency of the climate extremes in the Indian Himalayas is increasing. So we can't basically get rid of the climate change. Climate change is there. Only what we can do is either we can mitigate it, reduce it in magnitude, or the best thing is that we adopt to it. So the climate change adaptation is the best way to mitigate or to reduce the impacts of the climate change on livelihoods, on farming community, on orchard estates.
जो ये वक्त आ गया, इसमें पहले ज़माने में इसमें
वक्त से पहले ही बर्फ आती है, बहुत लोगों का नुकसान होता है। जो ये माल मवेशी का वो घास था वो भी पौधा हो गया, फसल भी नुकसान हो गया।
To address this particular problem, the experts have devised different methods.
So the agriculture scientists of this place need to produce climate resistant varieties. In light of this experience for the last 2 years, I would suggest that the Department of Horticulture, the farmers, the orchardists should go for those varieties of apples and other crops that don't stay on the trees till end of November.
हाई डेंसिटी जो प्लांटेशन एप्पल में जो है एक बहुत ही एक बेहतरीन एक टेक्नोलॉजी है, जिसको अडॉप्ट करने से मैं समझता हूँ जो आमदनी जो है, जो आज आपका 2-3 लाख रुपए या 5 लाख रुपए का, तो मैं समझता हूँ ये 15 से 20 लाख रुपए आप कमा सकते हैं। टेक्नोलॉजी को देखते हुए हमारे जो फार्मर्स है, आर्चर्डिस्ट है, जो प्रोग्रेसिव फार्मर्स है, आगे बढ़ के आएंगे, इस टेक्नोलॉजी को अपनाएंगे और अपनाने से मैं समझता हूँ कि उनका जो भी अपना इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन है तो वो बहुत इम्प्रूव हो जाएगा, उससे सोशल एक स्टेटस बढ़ जाएगा, साथ ही साथ वो एम्प्लॉयमेंट भी बहुत जनरेट कर सकते हैं।
Land system changes that have been happening, for example the conversion of irrigation intensive rice paddies into horticulture, although it has been being promoted by the government, horticulture is being promoted by the government as an economic solution to the economic miseries of the state, but you have to look into the health costs. For example, if you look into the amount of pesticides and fertilizers that our orchardists use in Kashmir, whether it is scientifically permissible or not, we are basically exposing ourselves to more chemicals, and what it has done is there have been incidences, severe incidences of brain tumors as well as cancers among the apple orchardists in Kashmir.
According to the study published in the journal Climatic Change on 29th July 2020, Jammu and Kashmir Himalayas may see temperature rise of 7 degrees by 2100.
Now, under the changing climate scenarios, what will be Kashmir, what will be Jammu, what will be Ladakh by end of this century? And this is one of the study that our department had done under the Center for Excellence on Glacial Studies. We projected different scenarios. So how will be the Kashmir, Ladakh and Jammu by end of this century in terms of temperature, in terms of snowfall, in terms of precipitation, which are the indicators of climate change. So one of the scenarios, which is the worst scenario, if the people don't care for the environment, if the government does not formulate policies on the mitigating climate change, if the nation states don't agree to the Paris Agreement, what will be the scenario? Scenario will be very, we call it RCP 8.5, so representative construction concentration pathways 8.5. This is the worst scenario, and we said that the Kashmir under that scenario can be 7 degrees hotter.
We have here at 40 days, we call it as Chilai Kalan, when this lowest temperature that perhaps broke the records of 20 years. That much temperature went sub-zero freezing point. But once those 40 days were ended, we had abruptly shoot up in the temperature. It should have been normal. Our experience is that there would have been a gradual increase in the temperature, but it abruptly was relatively warmer, and that is what many of the scientists, climate change scientists, they say that it is the extreme these in temperatures or the extreme say patterns that we are witnessing in these weather phenomena or climatic phenomenon that are the signals, that are the indications of the climate change.
Climate change is a global phenomenon. The Arctic ice is melting fast and the sea level is gradually rising. The experts portray a very scary scene of the future. With the rise in sea level, many countries surrounded by sea may completely disappear. Even many coastal areas may go underwater. Melting of glaciers will cause water shortages in many parts of the world. melting glaciers narrate a very sad story.
Now, one of the very important resources that the Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh has, the most important resource is snow and glaciers. So if you look at the glaciers of the Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, as I said, they are receding, they are shrinking at a relatively higher rate as compared to the glaciers in other parts of the country. Now, if you look at I will tell you the Kolhai Glacier, which is the largest glacier in the Kashmir Valley in the Jhelum Basin, is every year on an average melting 20 meters. And if you look at them shrinking in terms of depth, so it is losing mass almost 1 meter, 90 centimeters, 92 centimeters every year.
Where will the solutions come from? How can the problem be addressed? First, locally, then globally. Developed country is not a place where the poor have cars. It's where the rich use public transportation, as 60 people are adjusted in a bus as compared to 5 in a car.
Charity begins at home, so we should start by looking at how much carbon footprint we produce individually, trying to reduce reuse of refrigerators, ACs, and using public commute as much as we can. Governments can also work towards developing efficient transport systems, because we see in countries like India, the transport system is not very well managed across the country, so people tend to use private transport more.
We don't have a very effective public transport systems, especially in the developing countries. So the place like the India, the states, Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, or other states of the India, if you look at that, the density of cars is increasing very rapidly. As a result, you have very significant increase in the emission of these greenhouse gases on the streets and on the roads. So we need to have a very efficient public transport system so that the number of cars, number of vehicles comes down. Tunnels are one of the best ways. So you reduce the travel time between Jammu and Srinagar, let us say only 2 hours or 3 hours. It will have a huge positive impact on the environment.
With an increase in population, the crisis will deepen. In 1960, the world population was around 3 billion. In 2017, it was 7.2 billion. And in 2050, it's expected to be 9 billion plus. This will give rise to much bigger problems like food production, which will not be proportionate to the population hike. If we really want a healthier planet, we will have to mend our ways. We have to be smarter. Kashmir fortunately had a vast green area, but we have destroyed a major part of it. Our valley was green, but we have destroyed that greenery. And we have to restore that charm if we and our generations are to survive.
Mindset should always conserve the natural greenery, and wherever you have the space, you should add to the greenery. So this can make a change.
As teenage activist Greta Thunberg said, "Our house is on fire, we know what we have to do to put it out." There is such a thing as moving too slowly. The problem is not just local, it's global. But we have to start from home and take the mission ahead to save our planet. The climate change is not a myth. It's a fact that stares us in the face. Alongside creating new employment avenues for the people at present, we have to think about our future as well. Sooner we take steps, better that will be for us and for our posterity.